Modern versus old, TV versus radio. It's a fight that has gone on for years, with some choosing to dwell in the past and others to advance to the future, with Vox and Alastor from Hazbin Hotel being prime examples of this. With Vox striving for innovation, whilst Alastor prefers to stay in the past. In today's video, I'll be covering every similarity and difference between these, from their appearance to personality, to determine what makes them such great enemies for each other. So without further ado, make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get straight into it. Literary foils of each other, which for non-English majors in the crowd just means they are opposites that point out differences in the other and flaws within a character, and this is exceedingly clear when looking at these two, from the colour scheme, which I'll touch on later, to what I'll be discussing now, which is their personalities. Firstly, Alastor shows a demeanour that is widely categorised as older. He's more sophisticated, calm, resolved, and collected, rarely ever being rude or swearing, whereas Vox, on the other hand, shows a much more modern stereotype. He is louder, ruder, more extravagant, and he believes he is the best, even calling himself the future in his duet with Alastor during Stayed Gone in episode 2 of the show. A second point we can look at is their main themes. Alastor is literally the radio demon, whereas Vox is more focused on the future, aka TVs, which is a clear showcase of the modern versus classic argument. Now I want you to look at their character designs with me. Just point out how similar they actually are. Their outfits are practically the exact same, minus some small Wi-Fi patterns on Vox's suit and of course his little hat up top. With Alastor having the same suit with more dimmed colours, and of course it's red, which although not being the actual opposite of blue on the colour wheel, is still seen as the opposing colour in most forms of media. Now it is well known that over the years fashion has gotten more extravagant and over the top. For example, compare the normal look in the 1930s to the 1950s to 60s when Vox was alive and possibly died. We can see the modernisation of fashion in Vox's outfit because he's wearing the exact same outfit as Alastor, except it's more evolved, flashy, and has its blue colouring instead, with brighter coloured lines, whilst Alastor has darker coloured lines on his suit. Lastly, just as TV is built on the back of radio, it's clear where Vox's suit is based from. Of course, having a slight modern touch-up in the form of his top hat and Wi-Fi symbols, but you can see here he very clearly has the exact same suit as Alastor, and it's very likely that he may have looked up to Alastor in the past, even seemingly being friends as shown during episode 8. So Stayed Gone is one of the most iconic songs from Hazbin Hotel Season 1, due to its quite catchy lyrics and instrumental, but also the feud between Alastor and Vox being shown in full force. We see that Vox is seemingly afraid of Alastor, although it's claimed that he lost to Vox almost 7 years ago, which immediately makes me suspicious of this statement from Val.
Still pissed he almost beat you that time. Fuck you! Just saying.
I firmly believe that yes, Vox may have won, but one, he either had help from the other Vs in the battle, hence Alastor calling Vox powerless without them, or Alastor simply gave up and left midway through the fight, giving Vox the technical win. But back to the song, we can further see the modernised personality of Vox come out through the way he immediately challenges Alastor, not Aster, by calling him out during his news broadcast. As soon as he heard that Alastor returned, however it seemed, he wasn't going to mess with V's, and only responded upon seeing Vox's broadcast whilst leaving the tailors. And Alastor absolutely destroys Vox in this confrontation, angering him to the point where all of the Pride Ring's power goes out.
I'll destroy you! I'm afraid you've lost your signal.
Which just further backs up my theory that Vox did not beat Alastor, not by any fair means anyway. If he did beat Alastor on his own, then he clearly cheated using some form of way that we haven't seen. But I'm sure we'll see that in Season 2, as Viv has confirmed that Season 2 will focus on the Vs as the main villains. Who is stronger in your opinion, Alastor or Vox? Comment your answers down below and I'll reply to any comment I see. Now in this segment I'm going to be providing evidence on to why I think Alastor is much stronger than Vox. Now I have two main sources of evidence, first being in the beginning of episode 2, I'm talking about the power outage brought on by Alastor, which was caused by Vox becoming overworked trying to combat Alastor during their duet, leading to the power outage, which shows that Alastor seemingly holds power over Vox, or at least enough to get him that stressed out and worried till he begins buffering and glitching. Secondly, I want to look later in the very same episode to when Alastor takes the Pence's watch and contacts Vox, and manages to harm Vox remotely, making him scream out in pain. Now we need to look at some real life evidence to prove my point here, and that is the fact that TV requires radio signals to run. So if Alastor can manipulate radio signals, then he could easily shut down Vox. which is why I think it's impossible for Vox to have won that battle, especially after hearing more about Alastor's backstory in episode 5 from Mimsy. We learned that immediately upon entering Hell, he toppled overlords that were in charge for centuries, and he specifically points out that these were heavy hitters, and not just your run-of-the-mill overlord. We also see a small part of his power showing up during the same episode, where he becomes this seemingly massive eldritch monster and tears apart the loan shark.
Took you long enough.
A reminder to all, not to mess with the radio demon. Will devour each and every one of you.
Now, up to when I'm writing this part of the script, episodes 7 and 8 have not released yet, and up to this point we haven't received many particularly impressive feats from Vox himself, other than his swirly eyes being able to control people. So unless we get more reveals of his power during episodes 7 and 8, I believe and stand by the fact that Alastor is stronger than Vox. But first, I wanted to let you know that I recently published a book over on my Wattpad. It does not contain NSFW content, as instead a sci-fi fantasy novel. It will be linked in the description below for those who are interested. But back to the video. So after watching the final 2 episodes, we did get some new revelations about the relationship between these 2 characters that gave us context to the Stayed Gone song, along with Vox watching the exterminations like a drunk dad watching the football on a Sunday night. But in the finale song, we see Vox throw a knife at a picture of Alastor, and if you were paying attention to the show, you would notice that this is a photo of Vox and Alastor together, with the part of Vox just kind of ripped off. Now, the fact that Alastor actually let Vox take a photo of him shows that these two used to be very, very close friends. As we see, he hates being shown on technology, like cameras, phones, radios, TV, etc. Or it could be that back then, Alastor did not mind being seen on screens, but it was after his falling out with Vox that he did, as further shown by the song Stayed Gone, which I think is literally a recap of their entire relationship. We just didn't have enough context to understand what was going on. So here's my interpretation of the event. So Vox and Alastor used to share a broadcasting station or be close business partners. And at some point, Vox wanted to completely pivot to video, as he says in the song with Alastor, choosing to quote hide in radio, which caused a drift between them, and this is when I believe the V's were formed, as they began moving to innovation, leaving a grudge between these 2 old pals, as Alastor calls Vox during Stayed Gone. But I think that later on after this, Vox asked Alastor to join his team, aka the V's, which Alastor rejected, causing the pair to break out into a fight, which I believe Alastor was winning by a long shot, and Vox would have died without Val and Velvet stepping in to help Vox. That's why Alastor accuses Vox of being powerless without the other V's, which is why Vox seemingly gets so stressed about Alastor returning, and why Val teases him about it. Now, along with this, I believe that the V's are a polycule couple. Basically, one person is dating the 2 other people in the couple, they're not all specifically dating each other, which is actually the meaning for the term V, well, the way it's spelled in the show anyway. Now, in this context, Vox is dating both Valentino and Velvet. As we can see, he's very clearly got something going on with Valentino, and the way he talks about it with Velvet, it seems like they kind of have maybe an on and off relationship. So Vox asking Alastor to join his team may have a second meaning, of Vox asking Al to join their poly relationship, which Alastor rejects, as we know he is an ace in the hole thanks to Rosie, which could also explain the fight that broke out, as we know Vox hates rejection, as mentioned in prior interviews, and other stuff from Vivzy Pop herself. Now, before you go, I do have some final messages. Now, after taking all of this into account, do you agree with me that these 2 characters have a perfect antagonistic relationship to each other? If you agree, then comment below, but if you don't, make sure to comment me why you believe so in the comments. Also, I have a couple of new videos coming up, so here we go. In a few weeks, expect FNAF Sister Location in Minecraft, as it is now finished recording and editing. I'm just touching up audio and adding music. And for more Hazbin content, I want to do a video on Valentino, but in the meantime, I have to find a song tier list for you to check out. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to catch you in the next video. Goodbye, folks.